Good afternoon, Facebook. Welcome to the BRI. My name is Denoris Wilson, and I am trying to utilize this platform a little bit more consistency and be more dedicated to trying to actually build it because it's just not for the purpose of entertainment. It is a goal behind it. So in that light, I was thinking today, I was like, you know, what is like the major issue with Black America? But before I talk about the major issue of Black America, let me explain something. I am of the belief that there's only one race of people, and that's the human race. So when I say black, white, I am saying that it's one human race, but there are different versions of that human race. And no, and we typically tend to stop at identifying the different versions of that race at physical features, and we don't tend to try to use um, their actions as features to categorize them in. We don't we tend to try to stay away from that because we say that everyone is an individual, and which is true. But when I'm gonna get to that. But when I say black and white, I'm not talking about races of people. I'm actually talking about different variations of humanity. So I started thinking about like when you really take into account that when you have 43 million people on one landmass, 43 million of the same people on one landmass, you actually have you would be in, if that 43 million people were on the continent of Africa, you would be in the top 10 largest nations of Africa at 43 million people. Like you'd be number 9 right now. Number 9 is Algeria, and they are the 4th largest export of oil, and they are the 10th largest export of some other kind of oil. They got a good economy, and it's 43 million, think 42 million people, and they live pretty good. And they're a nation. They're a whole nation. 43 million people, they're a whole nation. So I'm gonna get back to that in a minute. But what I want to talk about now is I begin to think about, like, okay, what are we as Black Americans, right? And it sort of dawned on me that all Black people all over the world, all over the world, want to be like us. And when I say us, I mean Black Americans. All of them want to be like us. They want to wear what we wear. They want to listen to what we listen to. They want to talk how we talk. They want to do everything that we do. And it's not just Black people. That influence is everywhere. I mean, it's we've influenced Asian culture. We've influenced German culture. We've influenced European culture. We've influenced Caribbean culture. The things that came and originated with Black Americans. Which brings me to this. That is our resource. That is our most valuable commodity. Our ability to make something from nothing and make it good. That is our resource. And that's one of them. We have a whole lot of resources, our athletic resources, our mathematic resources on how to figure out things. And we talk about the colonization of Africa, which is a landmass, but we don't understand that here in America, our resources are being colonized. And the way I say that they're being colonized is because we're not responsible for the employment of the people, that we have real resources. Like what I mean is like, how they're taking gold out of Africa, right? And a European country, a Dutch country or whatever takes gold out of Africa, right? They take gold out of Africa. They find diamonds, they find cobalt. All this comes is mined through private corporations in Africa, taking that resource out of Africa, and the money from those resources are being collected by a private entity. When all countries that have a viable resource, if they are allowed to take that resource for themselves, like Algeria, like Iraq, like Iran, like Jordan, um, like Russia, they're allowed to take them and their resource and sell it to the world and benefit from it. Right? They are, I'm not going to say allowed. That's just what they do. It's their resource. It's theirs. Can't nobody take it from them. But that's what happened in Africa. Those resources got taken from them. Now that happened in Africa. Now let's look at America. You're in a free economy. You're in a capitalistic democracy, right? Everything should be equal. The opportunity for everyone to do anything is out there. Like there are no holes that should be barred, right? But if I tell you that 80% of the basketball players in the NBA are black, right? Now you look at those black basketball players as just players, but they're actually their resource. They are a resource. They are a resource. They are a resource not only for entertainment, but for advertisement. Therefore, they are a resource for making money. Because that's what you take control of a resource for. You take control of a resource to be able to profit off of it. So when you look at these basketball players as individual players, they're not their resources. Okay, so now let's say that we look at basketball players, football players, entertainers, actors, whatever, as resources, meaning they make money. If you are not controlling those resources, you are allowing those resources to be colonized out by other people who are just gonna profit the money for themselves, which goes the other way for you. For you, it goes up. Money flows up. It goes up. It doesn't come back. So our resources, our talent is being mined because we don't have control on it. And that's one of the points of the BRI is like, look, yeah, you can have your thing. I can have my thing. He can have his thing. She can have her thing. All of y'all can have your thing. Everybody can have their thing. But let's have their thing. Let's have our things in one central location. I mean, you know, it's crazy because to do that is nothing. That's the easiest thing to do. To do that, to get on a Facebook, like listen, y'all, I want y'all to understand how simple this is. For all of these people who go live, for all the black people who go live, right? They can still go live, they can still do what they want to do, right? But all they have to do is post other people who go live onto their feed, right? So that means, you know what? If I ain't going live today, and she and let's say John going live, right? I'm gonna air John. I'm gonna air his show on my feed. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna share his on my feed. I'm gonna do that because we're in a consortium that's what we do. Like there shouldn't be a time on the internet right now where there isn't constant content coming from our side. There shouldn't be a time. There shouldn't be no dead space on the internet in a central location where constant, content from our side is not provided or it's not done. There should not in this day and time when it's it's easy to do. But with people with their egos and wanting to be, you know, the man or the it thing, it's hard to get together with people like that. Everybody want to do their own thing. Everybody want to be responsible for something blowing up. Everybody want to be the one that goes down in history, you know, being praised for be responsible for something. While meanwhile, we miss an opportunity and we're suffering because of people's ego. And because people want like, I've reached out to a couple of people and it it made me laugh because it was like, okay, man, I'm doing a little. I introduced myself. I'm doing a broadcast now. I've maybe been friends with them for a while, but I've never seen them do a broadcast, right? But I've seen them with their business. So I'm not saying that they wasn't thinking about doing the broadcast, but it just was funny that after I asked him and he didn't respond the day that I started my broadcast. The next day he started his. So and that has happened like at least 3 times. So I'm not upset with him, but I'm like, okay, that's cool too. That's cool. That's cool. But let's do it together. We ain't let's do it together. Let's get a central location where everybody can go, where everyone can go and find out content. Load it up. Let's make it happen. Because what we don't understand is that the Black American is the standard for blackness all over the world. Black people in all over the world want to be us. They want to be like us. They want to walk the way we walk. They want to listen to what we want to listen to. They want to be like us. And we need to give them something to be like if we're the standard. I don't I don't really think a lot of us understand not only how good or better, we have it than a lot of Black people on this planet. But how much we are revered, right? So let me say something to you. The the, the darker skinned version of humanity, right, have experienced two forms of bondage, right? One is colonization, meaning they come in, they take over, and you speak their language, and you learn their history, and you obey their laws. You're colonized. And then there was slavery, right? Slavery was, no, they come to Africa and they take you. They take you 9,000 miles away. They take you 9,000 miles away. And you're forced not just to obey their laws, but to obey them. So the difference between being colonized and being being enslaved, if you're colonized, you're still at home. You're still at home. Yeah, they subject you to bad stuff, but you're at home and you're around your family and your friends. Unless they get locked up, you still have the ability to live, in close proximity to the people that you love and the people that you're familiar with. But if you're a slave, 9,000 miles away, what you got? What you got? See, a lot of us think that, like the slavery of the Black man in America, like, you want to forget it. You want to be ashamed of it. But honestly, I'm proud of it because I see where we're going. I see where we're going. We might not believe it, Black man and Black woman. We might not believe it. But overall, as a people, we are a lot better off on how we live day to day than 90% of Black people all over the world. And that doesn't mean stop fighting and stop trying to advance and stop trying to succeed. That means that with that comes responsibility. If we want to make life better for everybody, especially those Black people all over the world that's suffering, and suffering, you might not be familiar with it, but and suffering, then we Black Americans, we gotta set we gotta set the table for that. Like, we have to set the standard for that. We have to step our game up because they look to us. Black people all over the world look to us for what to do, who to listen to, what to wear, how to hook it up. All over the world, they look to us for that. Our culture has, and when I say our culture, I mean Black American culture. African culture been around for centuries. You don't see you don't see too many Asian dudes trying to do the African dance or trying to sing the African song, but you do hear them trying to rap a Black American song, a art form that was started right here in America with Black people. Jazz, all over the world. We have did things that went all over the world, and we have allowed those resources to be colonized by other people who don't have our best interests at heart. And not one of us were able, you had your Puffy, you had your Master P's, you have your 50s, you have your Dr. Dre's. You have all these people. They make a lot of money. They make a lot of money. But then, and your Michael Jordan. But then you have your LeBron James. Those type of people. And you have your Jalen Rose. Those type of people. And you have your Warwick Duns. And your Colin Kaepernick. And your other people that say, you know what? I could sacrifice a little bit of this for something. If my celebrity and my money is gonna afford me the ability to do something, I'm gonna do something. If my celebrity can sell shoes, then I can sell a school. I can sell the opening of a school. Why can't I do that too? If I can sell shoes to people and they buy shoes, if my image, my personality can sell shoes to people, why can't I sell the opening of a school to people? Or why can't I sell the opening of a school or a training program or, anything? Why can't I sell something like that? Why it always got to be like something, to make you mega rich off of? And if that's going to be the case, then I believe we as Black people need to establish the fact that some way we need to establish something that we all need to invest in as a whole. Like, you everyone talks about the black dollar and what you need to do with it, and support Black businesses. And I've said this before, and I'm not telling you not to support Black businesses, no, but we sort of got to be realistic in taking it another step further, though, because let's look at it like this. If you support me and I'm a Black business, right? And don't get me wrong, I want all the support I can get. I'm a graphic designer. I do what I do, but if you support me, you're supporting me, right? You're supporting me, and you're helping me pay my bills. You're helping me, do some of the things that I like to do, by patronizing my business, and I appreciate it. And that is like basically what we do when we support a lot of Black businesses. You're basically helping an individual or an individual family, right? So in that sense, right there, in that sense, supporting Black businesses in that sense. And you could say, well, it will help them grow. Well, if you support them, then they can grow and grow and grow. Okay, so well, let's look at it logically and say, um, how many Black businesses that we know personally actually looks like it can actually expand to a point to where they can hire 500 people in a plant. How many do we know personally, Black owned businesses that we know personally, that we can look at and say, you know, yeah, this can go, you could be having 500 people doing this and logically, um, that personally, and then take how many personally that could expand and juxtaposition that with the number of businesses that they're not going to expand and they can't expand there, or they don't need to expand, they doing whatever, right? And you'll see the lopsided numbers, because most businesses that hire a mass amount of people are manufacturing and distribution centers. They're not the private businesses that are manufacturers, the producer, and the distribution centers, and all those type of facilities. Those are the ones that hire a lot of the working people of America. So, your dude that got a barbershop, how much can he expand? He a Black-owned business, right? So you got to look at it like that. It's a lot of the young lady that make the candles. How big can she expand? So you got to look at it like that. So we gotta make something, right? We gotta make something, and we gotta manufacture a lot of things. But we wouldn't have to manufacture a lot of things if we just took control of our number one commodity, and that's our talents. That's our talents. Before, I would say 10, 15 years ago, you needed a real corporate machine behind you to advertise a person or a place or a product. You needed a real corporate machine behind you to get it out there to enough people to where the numbers would be in your favor to be successful. I often refer to the fact that McDonald's spends $1 billion a year advertising their dollar menu. So they so if they spending $1 billion, they're at least making that. And if they was just at least making that off the dollar menu, they wouldn't be spending $1 billion, right? So you have to take control of your most valuable resource. And the Black American most valuable resource is our talent. And in today's world, you no longer need that corporate entity behind you to push you out. All you need is somebody who know how to do it. That's all you need. All you need is somebody who know how to do it, to be able to get it out there and get it out there right and get it in the right markets. That's all you need, because it's all about numbers. I don't care what you're selling. I do not care what you're selling. If you get your message of what you're selling to 50 million people, you will need a fulfillment center. I don't care what you're selling. You can be selling dried up dog poo. If 50 million people see that what you're selling, you're gonna need a distribution center. Because it's just all about numbers. It's just about numbers. Everything is about numbers. And once I realized that everything is about numbers, and I realized, like, yo, they don't have to. I I recently did a podcast, a broadcast. I was producing a broadcast for somebody, and they were. I wasn't hosting. I was just behind the scenes doing all the camera work behind the scenes, and it was a host and they had guests, and the host would answer the guest a question, and I would bring the guest when he's answering to the forefront, and he'd be the only one on camera, and he'd talk, and once I felt like you know once I felt like he was coming to an end, I would minimize him again, and he would be back with the rest of the group. And I did that, and I realized that in doing that, I made them rush because they felt like, oh, okay, he moved me back, so that means he's telling me to end it. So I realized, and that was unspoken, like it was unspoken, and that's something that all the guests caught on to because there was a time frame that they was working in. Now, I didn't do that intentionally. I actually listened to what they were saying and thought they were about to wrap it up the first time. But then when I realized that I could actually control how long they talk simply by making them large or making them big. I mean, making them small, making them large, simply by making them large or small. Once I realized that I could do that, I realized how easy it was for us to be manipulated in the media, because we ain't thinking about that stuff. Like we not thinking about that stuff. Or if we're thinking about it, we're thinking about it in the wrong light. And I say that to say, like, look, we are doctors, we're lawyers, we're beauticians, we're barbershop owners, we're youth football coaches, we're everything. All those different things that we are resources. And those resources that we use to individually make money, a percentage of that needs to go back for, I don't care. You pay tithes to the church. We need to all agree to at least pay a black tax of $10 a month. Everybody that's working, we all just agree, and we set up a fund and pay a black tax. If we all agree, it's 20 million people working, that's 200 million people, $200 million a year, $2.4 billion a year. Let's just do it. Then we decide what we're gonna do with it. We'll make votes on what we're gonna do with it, but let's stack it. Let's stack it. $10 a month. $10. I don't even care if you got skepticism about what they gonna do with the money. It's $120 a year. You blow that on beer. But if we don't invest in ourselves, ain't nobody else gonna invest in us. And when I say invest in ourselves, let's keep it real. We are in America. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about putting some money in ourselves. Now, I look, man, if you are a person and you have a fund, tell me. I will play my part in that. But we need one central location. And I don't care who sets it up or who we decide to go. I don't care. We need it. We need it. We need it. Like we need it so we can start investing in things. Like investing in things that will bring us back a return on our investment, man. We make and we give away and nothing comes back. And then when something comes back, it's normally coming back on an individual basis. And you talking about how much stock you done made, and you know your stock rises as an individual. That's cool, but we starve. We still hurting. And we hurting because we ain't helping each other. We ain't forming no types of unions or yeah, you know, you got the Black Chamber of Commerce. Most people don't know about the Black Chamber of Commerce in their city or state. Why? Because Black Chamber of Commerce, they ain't getting out there. They want you to come to them, but they work for you. They supposedly working for you, but they want you to come to them. Man, that's what I'm saying. Like, we need a central location. Everybody, every Black American in America, and if you're white, you want to play to it because you could pay to it too. We establish a black tax, $10 a month. I'm down. If anybody down, the 4 people that's watching me right now, if you down to, if you would pay a black tax to a central location for a fund that would go to assist, help, or provide any type of assistance for Black people, let me know, man. Make a comment or something. Let me know that you will be down for that. Let me know that, because I would like to be, I would like to know how many people would actually be down to pay a black tax. I think that's a great idea. Black tax is a great idea. I mean, we got to decide what we're going to do with the money, of course, but let's put the money in the bank first. Let's put the money in the bank. You know, let's put the money in the bank, because putting it and because putting the money in the bank means we all are on one accord, at least in that regard. We all are like in one accord, knowing that like we need, like, money is what you need in America. So if money is what you need in America, let's go ahead and save up some money, and then we decide what we're gonna do with the money. But let's do it. I think we can do it, man. And if we do that, because Black people all over the world look to us as Black Americans as the standard of what the Black people, the best Black people in the world, how they live. We consider the best Black people in the world. I don't care how beautiful you think, like we see the African princesses and the Caribbean lady and the, you know, the Hispanic lady and all these things, right? They all beautiful, they exotic, all these people, all these places, they're beautiful places, half the Black people, no, 90% of the Black people in those places want to be where you are. Best believe it. 90% of those Black people in those beautiful places that you see on the brochures everywhere, 90% of those Black people want to be where you are. We are the standard for Blackness all over the world. So if we did this, think about how that'll spread all over the world. Just think if we establish amongst ourselves a black tax and we raise $2.4 billion a year, I would say that would probably be one of the largest volunteer fundraisers ever in history. I wouldn't know any other one fundraiser, one campaign that has raised 2.4 billion. If you know one, let me know. Not only will we make history, we'll set standards, and then we can decide what we're gonna do. Then we can decide what we're gonna do. I have the Black Community Sovereign Fund. That's me. But if that's not what we as a people decide to go with, and we do this together, then I'm going with that one. But I know it needs to be done. I know it needs to be done at some point as Black people. At some point as Black people, we got to stop thinking like a group of people when there's a tragedy, but when everything is all good, start thinking like we think like individuals. We can't think like that. We can't think like that. If we're gonna think like individuals when there's a tragedy, like, oh, Black Lives Matter, okay, and that's why I agree with some of the people who try to come back at Black people when we say Black Lives Matter. And well, Black Lives don't matter, and in Chicago, I kind of agree with that. Nah, Black lives can't matter when somebody dead. They gotta matter when somebody alive too. Yeah, and I know, the BLM argument is that just because you say Black Lives Matter don't mean don't mean, all lives matter. We know that too, but we just saying Black Lives Matter. Okay, but if you're gonna say that during tragedy, you need to say that during prosperity as well. So the same activism that you given to the Black Lives Matter campaign when someone is wrongfully shot or wrongfully convicted or whatever, or killed or whatever, that same amount of enthusiasm and activism that you give to that side of the story has to be directed on the other side of the story too, when ain't nobody getting shot. So I kind of agree with him. But if Black lives really matter, then put this way, if anybody have anything negative besides the fact, well, what you gonna do with the money? If anyone has anything, now I ain't gonna say negative. If anybody disagrees with a black tax, that we voluntarily place on ourselves, if you get the opportunity, if you want to talk about it, comment, and I will bring you a link if you want to come in. But if anyone has a problem with it, besides the fact, well, what you gonna do with the money when you get it, just on principle, the money, just let me know. Let me know. Let me know, and I will. I'll bring you in, man. We would talk about it. I'm trying to see if anyone's on the comments, y'all. Excuse me. Okay, not here. Not here. Let me try. But yeah, I believe we should establish a black tax, man. We establish a black tax, And then after we get the money, we decide what we're going to do with it. We decide what we're going to do with it. But the first thing is to get the money in play. And then while we're getting the money in play, we can have professionals that can get, people can come up with different proposals on, how they do government loans and all. But if, some will, you got 2.4 million, 2.4 billion, maybe some you give to the black colleges, it's 2.4 billion. So you can afford, honestly, to give each black college 10 million and you still got 1.4 billion. And an influx of money of a $10 million, I don't know, gift to any black college is a blessing. To any black college is a blessing. And then you can provide set aside a certain amount of money for low interest mortgage payments to get people out of these apartments into homes. You can provide low interest loans, um, to starting businesses to be able to manufacture so that they can employ more than 10 people because they can, manufacture and produce enough product to where, the more they get out, the more they bring in. Like just, but you gotta have the money. We in America, we have the money in play. Now we got options. We got options now. We have real options now that the money is in the bank. The money is in the bank, and we will have options. And it's really that simple. It's 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 really that simple. It's really that simple. And I don't get it. I don't get it why. I don't understand. I'm sure someone has probably came up with the same similar concept. But I don't understand how any black person cannot understand that if 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 life is gonna get better for us as a whole, then it ain't gonna be done individual by individual. No, let me rephrase that. If we do it individually, like life get better for you, and then life gets better for your offspring because life was better for you. If we do it, like that on a micro basis, it's gonna take a very, very long time. Very long time. We got to do it together. Yeah, I just want you to think about it because I'm about to sign off. I just want everyone to think about, like, what do we as black people invest in as a whole together? Just think about it. Like, what do we as black people invest in a whole together? And how does that thing, that how does that thing benefit us? Like, how does it help us? I know it's hard. I know it's hard for a lot of people. I know a lot of people are struggling. I know a lot of people are living one paycheck away from their life being a disaster. And a lot of those people happen to be Black Americans. And I know that. I've seen that. But I've also seen Jamaica. And the only thing like Jamaica has over the worst slum I've ever seen personally, I've ever seen in America is they got better weather. You got to do for yourself and not your individual self. Not yourself as an individual, not yourself as your family, not yourself as your community, not yourself as your city, not yourself as your state, not yourself as your country, not yourself as your nation, not yourself as your continent, yourself as human. But as human, what I'm saying is like when we elevate ourselves, and I think a lot of people sort of equate when I say when we elevate ourselves, like I'm I'm speaking against the adversary. I'm not speaking against the adversary. I'm speaking against a mindset, a state of mind that obviously, you know, a lot of us, and I was too, are not aware that we exist in or that we live in because a lot of us are not able to escape it because we live it every day. Why do you think, man? Why do you think you see dudes, most dudes that I've encountered and that I know, that spend some time being incarcerated and they come home, right? And they seem different, like just different in their spirit or whatever, right? Now, I've been around enough brothers to understand that if a brother came home from prison and I'm around him, with within a couple of times of seeing him, I can actually tell you what he did while he was incarcerated. I can tell you how he spent that time. And he doesn't, he really don't have to say anything, but there are certain things and certain mannerisms that are associated with being locked up that if you've been locked up before, you can identify them. Right? Right? You can identify them. But check this out. You have a lot of Black people, my age at least, who grew up on ramen noodles. I didn't have to go to jail to know about ramen noodles. Right? So if you see a Black person eating ramen noodles, you ain't gonna be like, you know, he went to jail or she went to jail. No, you're not gonna be like that. Because a lot of Black people our age grew up on ramen noodles, eating ramen noodles, right? But if you see that person eating ramen noodles, and they got mayonnaise, they got beef sticks, they done made a fungal out of it, then you know that person been locked up before, right? You know that, like, oh yeah, he know. And anybody that's ever been incarcerated know what I'm talking about, right? But you take your average white person. Now, if I see a white person eating a ramen noodle, I don't care if it's plain. He been locked up before, right? Now, why do I say that? Why do I say that? Because essentially, ramen noodles was cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap. It's cheap and it fills you up. It's not good for you. It's cheap and it fills you up. And if you are a black family, that was the bargain that you was trying to get. Something that's cheap, you can get a lot of it, and it'll carry you to the next time you go to the grocery store. That's why you got a lot of black people that eat grits. Grits have no nutritional value, none. But we eat it because it's cheap and it fills you up, right? Like that's basically what it is. And that's why a lot of us grew up eating ramen noodles. It was cheap and it fills you up. But there are not many white people that actually grew up eating ramen noodles, unless they went to college or went to jail, and most likely in college they was introduced to ramen noodles to by a minority who grew up eating it. But I say that to say that you know when you when you understand that we we act a certain way because of things that we don't understand that aren't really, I'm not going to say controlling us, but influencing us or pushing us a particular way or pushing us a particular this way or that way. Like they, it's influencing us to act a particular way. And that's why I say I'm not battling a color. It's a mindset. But that mindset has to be, I heard this guy, he was talking about target audience, right? And the way you target an audience, like boom, if I if I want to have more black people come to my business, right? Then logically, any type of advertisement that I do will have pictures of black people, right? Like if that's my target audience, if that's what I'm trying to go for, if I am trying to get the most amount of black people to come to my business, I am going to market to them. So if I am going to market to them, I have to market to them in a way that they are familiar with. Now, some may say that that's racist, but it's not. I'm trying to attract them. So if I'm trying to attract them, I got to give them something that represents them to allow them to be curious enough about what it is I'm selling or whatever. And it goes the same way with a white audience. If I'm trying to capture a white audience, then I'm going to market to them. Historically, all marketing was geared towards a white audience because marketing is geared towards an audience for them to make money off of. And historically, white America has had the bulk of the money. So why would I waste time advertising to these people who can barely make it? I'm going to advertise to them. So that's why on television, on radio, everywhere, you will see marketing campaigns, billboards. It just be nothing but white people. Cadillac commercials, all commercials, just white people. White people. You just marketing white people. Now, at the time of they marketing to white people, black people are being subjected to this marketing too. Right? That like they're being subjected to it as well. Even though they are targeting white people, when they put their marketing campaign out, it just goes out. It ain't just going to only white people, it's going to everybody, but they are trying to capture the attention of white people. So everybody is getting this marketing campaign. So black people, any other people they that are not white, they're subjected to this campaign as well. Right? Now, their subjection to this campaign. Now think about this. Think about this. Let's think about when television was invented, right? When it was, well, and then let's think about when television became like the boom, like where every household had a television in it, right? Every household had a television in it. And, for years, you wouldn't see a black program. You may see a black entertainer, but you wouldn't see like a black program with a black family or anything like that. For years, you wouldn't see that for years. Or you would see the representation of those black people in a negative way for years. So just think about that and think about the culture of or what that will play on the psyche of a people who are looking at these instruments and listening to these devices, and all they hear is people who look differently from them, and these people are being considered stars and celebrities and famous, and they making all this money. Imagine what that plays on the psyche of a people over the course of time. Over the course of time. And I believe it's not that they will begin to hate themselves. Like, it's not that they hate themselves, right? But for so long, that other thing was held as the thing to be, as that other thing, that whiteness was associated with not slavery or not suffering or not getting dogs sit on you or not getting beat by police or, not like drug infested neighborhoods, right? Like, so it's not that I hate being black, right? But being white looks like it's okay. Right? Being white look like it's okay. And that plays on your psyche. And that's passed on generation to generation because it's never challenged. Like it's never challenged by us as parents or our parents or their parent or our parents' parents. Because in their way, like my grandmother used to say, and my aunt said to the day, if you white, you're right. And they operated with that mentality. And they passed it on and passed it on. I don't operate out of that mentality. And I don't operate out of the mentality that we can't be the example for all the Black people around the world. We already are. And it's not benefiting us in one bit. Our culture, the Black American culture, is probably the #1 money maker in the world. Our culture is used to sell products. Our culture is used to sell all types of products. Not and this is no knock to nobody else. So, but just understand what I'm saying. Not Jamaican culture, not African culture, not Puerto Rican culture, Mexican culture, Brazilian culture, not no other culture. Black American culture is selling everybody's stuff. Black American culture. No, ain't nobody else doing that. And that's our commodity, and we need to control it. Or at least get something from it for us as a whole, and not just us as individuals of it. I'm telling you, man, black tax. Black tax. That's the only way we're going to do it. Black tax, central location. We get us a black tax. If anybody want to establish, a chain link with me, if you want to discuss anything with me about this black tax, man, I don't know the whole particulars of it. I just say, let's establish a black tax. Everybody pay. I'll shoot, man. Me personally, I would say everybody pay $20 a month. But, whatever it is, everybody pay $20 a month until the next year. And then we decide what we do with the money. $20, $10, whatever. But $20 a month, $20 a month, $4 billion, man. You know how much money we can, what good we could do as a whole, as a people with $4 million. I mean, $4 billion, $4.8 billion. Do you know what we can do with $4.8 billion? And it's simple. Like, it's really, really simple. Just do something together. That's all. It's just that simple. We can turn the course of history around in 1 year. In 1 year. Turn the course of history around in 1 year. Put us in a new trajectory. As Black Americans, and and trust me, you will be a beacon. You will be a beacon for other Black people in other places who experience similar things that we have experienced. You'll be a beacon for them to do. But if you ain't doing it, and this is what I'm trying to tell you and show you. Whatever Black Americans aren't doing as a whole to foster like self-love and unity, right? Whatever Black Americans aren't doing as a whole to foster that and to show that we together and doing things together, whatever we're not doing as a whole, that means Black people all over the world ain't doing either. Because if we ain't doing it, it ain't cool. Because if we ain't doing it, it ain't cool. So it ain't cool to do. So I ain't going to do it either. We are in a unique position, man. We're in a unique position to do something for not only us, but for Black people all over the world. So look, man, I ain't get too many people watch today, but that's okay. This video is going to stay up, and Hopefully people will go back and listen to it. But if you agree with a black tax, comment on below the video and say I agree. I just want to see, and then ask anybody you know. Like if you, I think I got 3 people watching now, so you got 3 people you know. Ask anybody you know if they agree with a black tax. Like seriously, if they agree with a black tax of, let's start lowball, of $20 a month for 1 year or for the rest or whatever, but just say $20 a month, a black tax. Ask them, do they agree with a black tax? And then ask them to ask someone, and the person they ask, tell them to ask someone. And let's, let's start the conversation about it. Do you agree with a black tax? I do. I think a black tax is good, man. We do a black tax for one another, like, to invest in our future and invest back in us. I think it would be a good thing if we can. I'm saying this: if we did a black tax of $20 a month, that's like $4.8 billion a year. Ain't I mean that's $4.8 billion. I just want you to understand what that is. That's 4.8. That's just not $4.8 billion. That's $4.8 billion that is going directly for the benefit of nothing but black people. $4.8 billion is going directly for the benefit of black people. Now you may not be the one that benefit. You may not be like my business may not benefit. Not that I'm gonna apply for it, but or what not apply, but not that I'm concerned with that. But what I'm saying is there's never, I don't think there's ever a budget in US history where there was $4.8 billion in the US government's budget that is dedicated to nothing but black people. I don't think there's a line in any federal budget that is $4.8 billion that is dedicated solely for the benefit of black Americans. If there is one, let me know. So we will make history, we will set a standard, and we will be on our way to at least, man, at least that. I'm gonna end with that. At least we'll be on our way, because I don't know. I don't know. At least we'll be on our way. And you know what's crazy, y'all, is that as a black American, right? When I think about history and how I came to be on this continent throughout the slavery, how can I say, practice, no slaves have been enslaved further away from their homeland than us. None. No slave has ever been essentially cut off from their homeland than us. And it hurts me that we don't even understand, like, we all we got. We all we got. And we get shown that time after time after time after time. And I'm not even saying I'm not even saying go out here and be aggressive and do something foolish. I'm saying just do something together. Just be together. Cause you all you got. And if you ain't looking out for one another, then we all out here alone. We all out here alone. Yeah, I said earlier that we're 43 million people, and yeah, we you know, we are in the top 10 population of African nations. Yeah, I said all that. But that's 43 million people, y'all. Surrounded by 200 million people who at least half of them couldn't care less about us. And that's okay too. But we gotta care about us. We gotta hold each other accountable when we see us doing things that we know that they know they shouldn't be doing. We gotta lift each other up when we see somebody doing something that is positive. And we gotta lift each other up when we see somebody that's doing something negative. Because if they negative, they already going down. And if you put them down, you ain't doing nothing. But most of all, we gotta invest in ourselves. I gotta go, y'all. I love y'all. Remember, Monday night, 8 o'clock, BRI. I got my boy coming on the interview, and I and I'm emotional because I'm gonna leave at this, but I'm emotional, y'all. And I got on this I went live because I've been hearing people all morning long, man, about George Floyd, Mr. George Floyd, and how he died, and and I think to myself, I go back to when Obama announced that Osama bin Laden was dead, right? Osama bin Laden was dead, and I don't know where I was. I think I was in a restaurant or something, and I remember J. Cole. He referenced it in his song because I felt the same thing, and I noticed that people who were looking at the TV, they were happy, like they were happy that the United States went to another country and killed somebody. No trial, no nothing. Just killed somebody. And they were happy. So I think about like when they announced O.J. Simpson not guilty. I was happy. No, but I was happy because OJ was found not guilty. I wasn't happy because someone was dead. I wasn't happy because someone was dead, right? And so I hear these comments this morning like, oh, he had fentanyl in his system. He had a white pill in his mouth. He had a heart condition, high blood pressure. He was a drug dealer. I hear all this. All this. He was a drug dealer. And then I hear from people who talking about we're all human beings. Well, look, if we're all human beings, none of that matters. But wait a minute, he was a drug dealer. One lady said, my 30 years of medical profession, I could see impending doom looking at him. He had a high, and I'm like, look, this is the point. Before Mr. Floyd encountered Derek Chauvin or whatever his name is, Mr. Floyd was alive. After his encounter with Mr. Chauvin, Mr. Floyd was dead. What would have happened if Mr. Floyd never encountered Mr. Chauvin? We do not know. We don't know. So don't tell me that he would have died anyway. Everybody gonna die. But would he would have died in 8 minutes? Then I heard a woman's comment say that if you choking or if you can't breathe, you can't say I can't breathe. It's just like choking. You can't say I'm choking. And I'm like, the audacity of you. He wasn't saying I'm breathing, I can't breathe, 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 I can't breathe until he couldn't breathe no more. Right? The audacity to take that cavalier approach of it. And so I asked the lady, I said, so you're telling me if that was your nephew or your brother on the ground with the police officer's knee in his back, on his neck, and him saying he can't breathe, you wouldn't want that officer to go to jail? And you wouldn't think that officer was responsible for killing your nephew or your brother? I don't care what he had in his system. Not one time that Officer Chauvin leaned down and asked Mr. Floyd, are you okay? But let's not even forget the fact that all of this happened. This man lost his life because it was alleged that he gave the store owner a $20 bill, a counterfeit $20 bill. Alarm guy out there, I'm sorry. It was alleged that he gave the store owner a counterfeit $20 bill. Now I'm anxious to see if this $20 bill, is brought up as evidence at the trial, because like it's almost like people not really understanding or not remembering that this was over a supposedly counterfeit $20 bill. Like, this man lost his life supposedly because he gave the store owner a counterfeit $20 bill. Basically. So I'm in my feelings because I'm like, the audacity of people to even try to even paint George Floyd in any other light. I don't care what he did, any other light than a victim. Is pure evil. That any other light than is pure evil. And it's almost it is the same argument as if a woman is that women have, that if they wearing a if they get raped and they wearing a short dress, they should be able to wear, oh my God, wear whatever that is and not be, subject to be, ridiculed or whatever. Like like giving her wearing what she wearing don't give a man the right to take advantage of her, right? So I say, okay, let's say he was a drug dealer. Let's even say, let's even let's even say he was high on fentanyl. Let's say he passed a counterfeit $20 bill, right? So you're telling me that this is the treatment that a police officer is allowed to take against me or anyone else who has no weapons, and the only thing, even if I'm trying to get away, it was four police officers. I don't care how big he is. If four police officers cannot subdue one person who is already handcuffed, if four police officers cannot subdue one human being who is already handcuffed, then your training is inadequate. And this is the thing for me. Like, I've seen in cities like Minneapolis where, the arresting police officer, they arrest you, put you in their squad car, and they wait for a paddy wagon, a paddy wagon to come by. The paddy wagon just going by, picking up people, taking them to the county or whatever, the jail. I'm trying to understand how anyone can say that a person who is handcuffed on the ground deserves a knee in the neck. And when you see that knee in the neck and you hear this grown man calling out to his mama, and then you see the police officer not ask him, is he okay? And then you see the police officer still stay on his neck after you didn't hear the man talking for 2-3 minutes. For 2-3 minutes, you don't hear him talking or nothing. And you can say what you want to say. He wasn't moving. No more. He wasn't doing nothing. And they were still on him. And he wasn't doing nothing. So for someone to say that the drugs, whatever that was in George Floyd's system is the reason, he dead, then you're actually saying that, you know what? If you didn't have that drugs in your system and you didn't have that heart condition, then you know what? You would have survived 8 minutes of someone putting their knee on your neck. That's basically what they're saying. If you didn't have those drugs in your system, if you didn't have your heart condition, then you would have survived 8+ minutes of someone placing their knee on your neck. You would have survived that if you didn't have that in your system. So the toxicology report and all of that shouldn't have never even been brought into play. That shouldn't have been brought into play because it's irrelevant. Because if you accept that toxicology report, you're automatically trying to draw attention away from the fact that a grown man is on the ground and three police officers are holding him down, and one man has his knee in his neck. Before you even get to the toxicology report, you got to find out, why were you on that man for 8 minutes on his neck before you even bring up the police report? But no, we allowed them to bring up look, when they bring up that police report, whoever that lawyer is for George Floyd should have been like, I don't care nothing about that that toxicology report. I don't care nothing about that. I don't care nothing about the toxicology report. I don't care if he was drunk. I don't care if he was drunk, unruly. What matters is you had your knee on his neck for 8 minutes. Everything else is irrelevant. We ain't talking about in his past. We're not talking about no toxicology report. We're not talking about none of that. Because that doesn't mean nothing. Explain to me why you and your officers held this man down for 8 minutes and you had your knee on his neck for 8+ minutes. Explain to me why that. Why is that? Are you telling me that y'all have done that procedure or that move on somebody else for 8 minutes and they survived, so therefore you thought it's okay? Or are you telling me that is the procedure of the department for you to be able to hold somebody down and put your knee on their neck for 8 minutes? Or are you telling me you don't know what you was doing? Are you telling me you feared for your life? What are you telling me? That's all I need to know. All I need to know about why you and your officers held this man down for 8 minutes and you had your knee in his neck. The toxicology report is irrelevant. I don't need to know nothing else. Y'all going through all this trial, bringing up all these witnesses, when all I need to know is, why did you have your knee on another human being's neck for 8 minutes? We can get to the other stuff later, but we don't have to go through all these dramatics. We don't have to go through these dramatics of why, his toxicology report. They ain't got nothing to do with it. Because he was living before he met Derek Chauvin, and he was dead after he encountered him. Hold on, Facebook. Hey, I got a wire underneath there, so don't go too much. All right. That's my lawn service. So it's loud, y'all. So I'm gonna end this broadcast. But look, remember, Mondays 8:00, the BRI culture interview. This weekend I'm gonna be more diligent with posting up about the Black Sovereign Fund, and I'm gonna stay on that question about the black tax. So if anybody, feel like you want to talk to me about it, and maybe you can help me develop it and how it would look and how we can implement it or try to get it out there and get the idea out there, so we can get it going viral, and then everybody just understand that, like, yo, this is what we got to do. That'll be great, right? So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so I'll holler at y'all. And remember, in order for you to receive a blessing, you must first be a blessing. I think these men are messing up my car, y'all. I gotta go because this is a new service. Peace.